Hello, good evening, and it is a Monday evening, which is time for another episode of Veteran Spotlight with me, your host Preeti Chaudhary, and my guest here today is Lieutenant Rita Gangwani. Welcome, one and all. Just give us 10 seconds to let everybody join in, and then we are live for this episode. It is going to be an interesting evening. I'm looking forward to all the amazing insights and conversations with Rita. Amazing stories of grit and gumption, of trials and tribulations, opportunities and obstacles, all put together. So, with that, welcome to another episode of Veteran Spotlight with me, Preeti Chaudhary, your host via LinkedIn Live. Let's welcome our guest, put together our hands for Lieutenant Rita Gangwani.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Good evening.
How are you today?
I'm very well. How are you doing?
I am very well, thank you, and I am raring to go because there is so much I need to know and learn about you. I've heard in bits and pieces, but I'm sure the audience here today would like to know Rita Gangwani, the person, the human, the armed forces warrior, and then somebody that transitioned successfully and charted so many different paths and territories. So let's get the ball rolling, Rita, first. First things first, let's put in a little bit of context to this whole talk in terms of where are you from, kind of family background. If you could take us down that bit a little bit, it would help us understand you as a person. Over to you.
Okay. Hi, good evening, everyone. First of all, thank you very much, Preeti, for having me here. I'm very happy and humbled, maybe to inspire others through my story. My background is that I was born and brought up in a very small town, once upon a time, a small town. Now it's a big town, Shimla, which is in Himachal Pradesh. And my father was a radiologist, and my mom was a housewife. I had two elder brothers. One was 15 years older to me, another was 13 years elder to me. So I was the youngest in the family. And so I was a very pampered child. And I still remember my brothers telling me I had little small little feet. He used to call his class fellows to come and show my little feet to his friends. So a very pampered and a spoiled brat, that is what I was. And I did my schooling from St. Thomas School, which is a convent school, from St. Thomas School, Shimla. And after my schooling, I went to St. Bede's College. Again, it was a nun college, and it was wonderful, to be in St. Thomas School, because being a convent, you get this lot of bonding, girly bonding out there. And then back to St. Bede's College, which is a very famous college. I think a lot of people know about it. It's almost 100 years old. And going there and learning from the nuns, and all these nitty gritties of being a lady and all that stuff I learned from there. So yeah, that is a bit about my, and what I remember about my childhood was that, now you have this snowfall which happens is just couple of inches. But when I was a little girl, I have seen snowfall which almost used to cover our door. And when we used to get up in the morning, we had to actually, break our, the ice thing and come out of it. So it a lot has changed between Simla then and Simla now. It was just summer capital of the Britishers, and very open, very new. Now that it has changed into a concrete jungle, but I remember all those open fields and hills and valleys, and it was beautiful. I think it was one of the most memorable moments of my life I've had till now. My childhood in Shimla, and I still go back on and off, but I never get the same feeling I used to have when I was a child. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. And one thing that resonates with me is I went to a convent school myself, which was established by the Sisters of Shembri about 143 years ago. Again, another cantonment town of Jabalpur that I'm from. And this convent here, and it's so similar, the nuns and all the bonding and all the right kind of education, the proper Queen's English, and so on and so forth. Small town sort of affinity,
The moral science classes, and yeah, it was a very different experience. Very different.
So it brings me, Rita. Okay, so two brothers, one 15 years older, another 13 years older, pampered child. How did this whole army thing happen? Is there a story somewhere there? Was it you? Was it the parents? What was it? Over to you. Thank you.
No one in our generations, none has ever been in the army. Um, for that matter, even I never thought I'll be able to make it in the army because of so many things, which I'll just share with you. But I actually got attracted to army when I watched a film, a Manoj Kumar film called Upkar. And in that, he was a soldier who went and fought a war. And I was very inspired by that when I saw all the tents and the hospitals and things like that. I was inspired, but again, in Simla, we used to have a lot of these. There's a place called Gaiety Theatre, where all these army officers and their kids, they all come in the evening and they play games, and it's kind of a social club. And I used to look at all of them and see the kind of grace and etiquette they had, and I was very much in awe of that. So yes, there was a desire for me to get into army, but I never thought it is possible. Why? I'll just tell you. And this is one story which is actually going to tell you exactly who I am. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I would just like to tell you at the moment I'm 4 feet 9 inches. But when I was a kid, I was just 4 feet 5 inches. And when I was in school, people used to call me all kinds of names, Tengu and Boni and all kinds of things. I used to stand first in the line in the assembly. And at that age, I didn't know why I stand first in the line. I always thought I stand first in the line because I'm the cutest in the class, least realizing that it's because of my height. Even when there was some function happening on the stage or anywhere, if I was at the back, they'll push me into the front, saying that go in front, you will not be seen. But I always thought it's because I'm cute. And being on the stage and being first all the time actually developed a lot of interest in me to be on stage. I got attracted a lot to the glamour world as well, and I had these big hopes that one day I'll be Miss India and one day I'll be a big model or an actress. So I was growing up with that in my mind, but there was a lot of rejection from people. They used to laugh at me when I used to share my dreams. I want to be air hostess or model or whatever. They used to laugh at me by calling me all kinds of names. And by the time I was in class 6 or 7, everybody had grown taller. And I remained as short as I was. And every day I used to go and fight with my parents. Why me? Poor things at that time, again, I didn't know what heredity is because my parents are short. They tried their level best, latkao, shatkao, everything they did, but I remained as short as I was. And by the time I was in 11th and 12th, people had started calling me mini road roller and this and that. My academics had actually come down very badly because I had become very conscious of my looks. And again, there was a turning point in my life where when I wanted to appear for a school play and I went to audition for the leading lady. And when I argued with my teacher that I want to be the leading lady of the play, she laughed at me in front of everyone, saying, Dekho isko, na akal hai na shakal. And she slapped me. And I'll never ever forget that slap in my life because it was like a prison door opened and I got into it. And I went into severe depression, and somehow I finished my school, got into college, and there also a lot of discrimination happened because of my height. And there was a time I actually gave up on life and I thought I'll not be able to do anything. But somebody, God sends somebody in your life at the right moment to change it. Here was one teacher who slapped me, and there comes another teacher from my college who came home and she shook me to reality and she said, Rita, the first thing you have to do is to learn to value yourself. First thing you have to do is to accept yourself as you are. Okay, and her exact words were, do not make anybody else's opinion your own reality. And that shook me to reality that my height was just a small part of my persona. I had so many big things. And there's a dialogue in Hindi film, that अब आप किसी चीज को शिद्दत से चाहते हैं तो रास्ते अपने आप खुलते हैं. So I suddenly became very conscious of my persona, and I changed my focus. And one fine day, I was walking and I came across this newspaper, Employment News. Just at a glance, it had headlines: Wanted Women in the Army. And I got very excited. But I was scared because I'm short. I didn't want to actually look at that ad, but somehow I had the guts. I picked it up and I looked at the ad, and they said, Wanted women in the army, you'll be commissioned officer. It was for MNS, military nursing services. And I quickly ran through, there was no height criteria. And I got really excited, and I thought maybe this is what I have to do. But and that glamour of uniform was there already from that movie, and here was something which is happening, and height is not required. So, and there was no one in my family who could guide me or tell me how to prepare. I didn't know what kind of people I'll be facing, what kind of interview I'll have, what I'll have. They asked for a written examination. I came down to Delhi and I gave my written exam. And in 2 days, they called me for an interview, and I didn't know who's going to interview me. For us, we were interviewed in our military nursing services in those days. I'm talking 1977. uh, we were interviewed by medical army medical ward, in which there were a couple of senior doctors and the commandant of that hospital and senior matrons of that hospital. For the first time, I wore sari because I never looked my age. I was scared, and I was wearing heels so that they don't actually see how short I am. And somehow I appeared for that interview, went through that interview, passed in merit list, and I was given my training for Command Hospital Air Force, Bangalore. So
So just
from
a moment, right there, Rita, because something really interesting has just popped into my head, you know. So you're talking about 1977 is when you applied and you got through the interview, you came to Delhi and all went well and you were through. But
yeah,
that 77 and today's 2020. How was the training like there? That is something that I would really like to know, you know. How was your training? Please take us
I will.
through some of that.
Yeah, I will just tell you, it's that we were initial batches, and our training was very different to what is happening now. In those days, we had school of nursing, and we had only one college of nursing, which was in Pune. And from there, girls were getting BSc nursing, and out here we could enter after 10th exam. Okay. So though I was in college, I had finished my graduation and I entered. But this training was, I read about a lot in the army because that time internet and all was not there, and I didn't know how ladies train. And there were only two ways to get into army in those days: either become a doctor or become a nursing officer. So I couldn't be a doctor, so I thought, why not nursing officer? So I had no idea how nurses are trained. I had no idea, because everybody, when I used to see the other army hospital, because my school, St. Thomas, was right next to Western Command, and I used to see all men in uniform, and I was thinking, how would I fit in? What would happen? Would I be accepted with my height? And I had a lot of apprehensions. So I landed up for my training in Command Hospital, Bangalore, in PN school. And our training was very different, compared to like when I hear the other veterans speak about their kind of training. Ours was very different. We were trained in all kinds of sciences, be it microbiology, be it anesthesiology, cardiology, preventive medicine, internal medicine. We had to actually learn all those things, not only theory but practical. And main aim was to make us compassionate human beings, somebody who has great communication skills, because we had to talk to the patients and the doctor, coordinating things between them. We were taught empathy, patience, a lot of courtesy. So our training was in that direction, to be more on a softer side, because we were dealing with lives, we were dealing with souls, we were dealing with people who were sick, and we had to be those angels, to be there. And as they say, nurses are the hospitality of hospitals. So we were like, and nursing is an art which comes from the heart. So you have to have that soft heart, and of course, and also be an army officer. So besides getting all the same training of PT, parade, blah blah blah, all about discipline and OLQ and all that stuff, we had to get trained in all these things. And believe me, I saw life so closely, because we had to pack dead bodies. You know, it was our duty. Now I don't know in recent times how it is, but I have packed dead bodies according to their religion, bathing them, putting their bodies in a certain position before sending them to mortuary. I have taken maggots out of the burns patients' bodies. I have seen postmortems. I have assisted doctors in operation theaters, worked in ICUs, PCUs, and in each and every department, be it psychiatry, be it ENT, be it, So we had a wholesome training. And you would, I don't know, I don't see it anymore, but I remember, suppose we were taught if it's a heart patient, this is how a cardiac bed is made. So these are the things a cardiac patient should have. And this, we used to have enamel trays in those days. This has to be there. None of these things should be missing. So there was a whole lot of procedures, whole lot of formats we had to learn. And it was, and as I said, nurses are there when people are born. Nurses are there when people die. So I have seen life from both the ends. I have seen people dying in my hands. I have seen little children being born and bringing their first cry out in my hands. And I think the most noblest profession I have seen till date is nursing. And I'm so very proud that God actually sent me there not only to help people, but also fulfilled my dream of wearing the uniform. And after we had 3 years of this training, and after 3 years, I was commissioned as lieutenant in Indian Army, and we had permanent commission. It was a permanent commission. And uh, and when I was passing out, again a beautiful thing is that I stood for all India first in first year, all India first in second year, all India first in third year. So I was given the best cadet trophy, I was given the best academics trophy, and I also won Air Force Station Jalali trophy by CNC Air Marshal Chauhan. And those were some of the best moments of my life. But again, in the army, besides that, I was good with my extracurricular activities because that glamour thing and that stage thing never left me. So in the army also, if there was any chance to represent anywhere, in theater or in singing or in dancing, I was always there participating. But I think whatever I am today is because of the army. It gave me the confidence to believe in myself, and it gave me it made me understand that we are all human beings. There is no caste, color, creed, religion. Everybody is a soul, a human soul, and we have to learn to accept them and serve them with full devotion. Service with a smile is our motto in MNS, and that's what I learned. And in those days, we had OG. Nowadays it's a different color uniform nursing officers have, but in those days we had OG, the P cap and the beret, and that dream of wearing that uniform also came true. And when I wore my uniform, I am the first lady army officer from Himachal Pradesh in my corps who wore the uniform. Thank you. And the same people who used to laugh at me, calling me Tingu and all those people, actually now started respecting me, saluting me. And through this medium, I would want to tell every listener, be it army or not army, that it does not matter what shape, size, color you have. It's what inside you that matters. So never ever take anybody else's opinion your own reality. Believe in yourself, and if you have a dream, God always fulfills it. Maybe he will test you before doing it, but if you are persistent about what you want in life, God will give it to you. And not that what I learned in the army has gone waste. No, even after so many years, 36 years down the line, anybody, anytime in my family something happens, the first person they call is me, and I land up with my BP apparatus and stethoscope, and I give them injections and everything. So I have been serving people till date and helping them, because this is what I learned, and this is, I think, I'll continue to do till my last breath.
Thank you so much for that. And first of all, thank you for your service again. A very noble profession, I must say, hattle raising in the sense like when you were talking about births, deaths, and everything else in between, I'm sure there have been plenty of ups and downs moments. We have spoken about some of those difficult ones. But I'm sure there would have been a couple of incidents which maybe stand out to you, when you remember from those days. Like to share something very briefly with us, please?
Yeah, yeah. They were, we were brats, Army is full of discipline and you have to follow everything to the T. But we were brats, I remember when I went to the school, we were given a dormitory. So we had one North Indian, one South Indian, one from West India, one. So we had national integration in our room, And there was a lot of language barrier initially because we couldn't communicate with the South Indians. South Indians couldn't communicate. So it was very tough. And there was a rule that if you go out of the mess, then three girls have to go together and all three from different backgrounds. So we couldn't go and see a movie. We couldn't eat the same kind of food because so we learned the tricks of trade towards 6 7 months down the line. We used to go together to the gate and then that separate from there, with same friends of the same community. But some hilarious incidences also I remember. I remember there was a girl, a lady who came with a 6 month old child and she had a feeder and she was feeding this child with something brown. So I looked at it and I thought it looked like probably something like chocolate drink, chocolate milk, 6 month old baby. So I said, "Excuse me, ma'am, you're not supposed to give chocolate milk to such a small baby." She says, "Really? No, no, this is not chocolate, ma'am. This is actually coffee shake, and he loves it, a 6 month old baby." I had a shock of my life. And yes, I remember because we used to be so busy in different procedures in the ward where we were serving that sometimes we used to speak in shortcuts, in small short words. And I remember an incident where I was in premature baby unit and where this, people, kids who are born early, they're kept under certain light to keep them warm and to heal them and stuff. So there was this child in that incubator and the light was on. So one of my juniors, she says, "Ma'am, I think the light is very very strong and the child is feeling very hot, and what should I do? Should I reduce the light?" So I was at some other child, so I said the exact was it um, "Cut it off slowly, cut it off slowly," I said loudly, least realizing that the parent of the child was standing there and that, "Cut it off slowly, what are you cutting my child or whatever?" So I said, "I'm extremely sorry, sir, I didn't mean that, I just meant to cut the light slowly." So there were a lot of hilarious. And another wonderful incident was in a midwifery section. We were supposed to bring the children out of the mother's womb as midwives. So I remember, we call them paras. Paras are multiple births. A lady who's given 3 4 children. So they used to deliver fast because a couple of times they've already delivered children. So to make it more faster, I remember we used to ask those ladies, "Who's your favorite star?" Those days Amitabh Bachchan was favorite star. So we used to put a transistor there and put on Amitabh's music so that her contractions become fast and she delivers fast. So yeah, some of these hilarious moments I remember, fun moments. But yeah, in that atmosphere of so much of some most of the time dealing with people's negativity and these little moments used to give us a lot of pleasure. It used to lighten us up many times because so many times it used to happen that doctors used to walk away after a death of a patient. They'll say, "Aap batao unko."
Hmm.
And it was very difficult, to break a news to a family and tell them. So we really learned to be empathetic and break that news to people. An incident I remember when I was serving in Bangalore is when there was an old couple. I think they were very much in love. I don't remember what exactly had gone wrong with that lady, but she passed away and the husband was outside the room. And he could see that we were pulling screens near the bed and he knew something is going on. And she, in the moment, passed away. So I was given the duty to go and speak to the gentleman outside. And I broke the news, and I was expecting, a lot of grief and stuff. But what I saw, he took out a hanky from his pocket. And then he said, "Ma'am, can I go inside? Can I see her?" I said, "Yeah, of course." So he went inside, and I saw that he took out dentures from inside that hanky, and he opened her mouth and pushed the dentures inside her. And then he said, "You know what, ma'am, my wife always said that I want to look beautiful when I die. So I don't want her to feel that she doesn't have her teeth inside her." So there were some very touching moments I have witnessed. little children having cancer and just passing away in my hands. I have really seen life very closely. And there was a time I had developed a sixth sense. I could just walk in and I could smell death. And I used to even tell, is somebody seriously ill out here? Because in army we have SIL and DIL. And I used to keep my mouth shut because I had that sense. And for many years I had it. It slowly faded away. But I had developed that as well. I think God gives you all these things, when you're so close to life, so close to life. It's made me realize what life is made up of. It's made me realize the value of every moment we have.
Sure,
Yeah.
I'm
So this
sure
is
of that. Yeah, because I mean, these poignant moments actually put things in perspective in terms of our own fortunes, and when we see all the death and misery around us, So I can actually totally understand where you're coming from in that. And I just want to take a brief moment here to remind all the attendees here today that we will be taking live questions. So please start putting them into the comment section. Lieutenant Rita will be answering those, addressing those for you. They could be on anything. They could be on army life, transition life, her life as a person, of all her achievements, her ups and downs, and all of that. So please make sure write those questions down in the comment section. Now that brings me to the very logical question of, transition. How did that happen? Was it planned? Did you go about a certain way? If you can take us through that quickly, then I have a couple of other very pertinent questions that I'm sure the attendees who are in a similar situation as when you were that time in transition would like to know more about. Over to you. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. So, see, though it was a permanent commission, I actually didn't want to leave the army, but it so happened that I met my husband, and the parents were ailing parents, and he's a civilian. He's a mechanical engineer by profession, and he's a civilian, and his parents were ailing, and I couldn't afford to be shifting every 2 years, though a very bright future was waiting for me. I was even picked up for Mount Everest expedition as one of the first females, along with six others, to be going to Mount Everest. But then I had to think the whole thing over, and then I had to quit the army voluntarily. So there were only two ways we could leave the army in those days as nursing officers, either on medical grounds or on marriage grounds. So I picked the other. I got married and I submitted my papers for release, and I was released. But I actually was, when I came out of the army, I was actually lost, frankly, because it was such a culture shift from that to this. Each and everything, name it, you have it. Everything was different for me. So, but one thing was there when I was in the army. One thing which attracted me very much out there was the OLQ we were taught, the P's and the Q's, and eating with fork and spoon, and the etiquette, and meeting and greeting skills and all that stuff. So it really used to attract me. And when I used to go on my annual vacation, I used to see my friends didn't have it. So somewhere in down the line, I had this in my mind that this is my strength. And because I was so attracted to the glamour world, so I thought if I connect these two, I would be able to fit into that world very much. So this was in my mind. So once I came out of the army, then I thought that, I need to get more clarity. I need to get a lot of certifications to get into that. So I went to a Swiss Indian finishing school. I learned the basic of personality development, and because I found that was my strength. So I learned personality development, etiquettes, and image management, and all that stuff which was needed for me to transit into the life of being a groomer. And then I entered the industry, though it wasn't very easy for me in the beginning. So one thing which I would want to tell people who want to get into transition, there are a couple of things, yes, which were very important, which I realized as I was moving ahead in my transition. One was networking. We army people are so close knit, that we do not have too many of civilian friends. So when you just come out of the army, suddenly you're lost because there's no one to help you fit into that environment. So I think one is networking. Just start networking way before you are transiting. Make friends, and now with the digital media, you can very easily find people of the same interest or what you're thinking who can help you out. The second thing, which I think would help you, is to be more flexible, because in army we are used to certain way of doing things, but civil life, it's not the same. It's very different. People work the way they want to work, so we cannot work with the same mindset in the civil world. So you have to learn to be very flexible, whether you're getting into the corporate world or whether you're starting on your own. You have to be very flexible. Third is that you also should find a mentor who has already done it, or who's actually getting into the kind of profession you are wanting to get into. There will be hundreds of people who will give you advice, but you need a specific person who's already done it. So find a mentor who can help you. Another thing is that you have to discover your transferable skills which you can transfer. Like I discovered OLQ is something I can transfer to the civil world. And most important is that also find out what are the educational qualifications required for what you want to start or what you want to get into. So start start preparing yourself to get those certifications. And most important, have patience, because sometimes it takes a long time to actually get into the kind of thing you're wanting to do. Because it happened with me when I started my personality development sessions, because in those days, in 80s, people were not aware about personality development. They only thought, and our time it was doctor ban jao, nurse ban jao, teacher ban jao kind of thing. And everybody thought that having a proper degree is the only thing which matters. It's only when we started becoming more globalized and we started having this internet and cable and all that come into India, people realize the importance of image and how do you present yourself and personality development. Before that, anytime I used to approach my clients or approach students to come to me, they used to think that I'm going to turn them into high-fi looking models or something, and that is what personality development is. But they don't realize that it's the most important part of any human being. Be it your personal life, be it your professional life, how you present yourself matters a lot, because this world moves according to the first impressions. And if you are unable to create a first impression in people which is right, maybe you don't even get down to talking to them. So it's very important to actually learn all those skills which will, along with your technical things, will actually make you stand out. The social skills, the life skills, the soft skills, very very important for people to have. So over the years, I have grown, and I had a tough time even in the corporate world because of my height again. Because people, sometimes, like if I'm at a social circle, and because I, other than uniform, if it's not there, people cannot make out that you're from the army. So if somebody is sitting next to me and suddenly they'll say, okay, somebody will say, okay, she's from the army. So they'll say, oh, so are you an army brat? I said, no, I'm not an army brat. I am an army person. In fact, people think my husband is army rather than me because I don't look like one. Because as I said, our training was to be more softer, kinder, more childlike approach. So my personality is such, and even now people do not believe that I'm from the army, and I have to shout and tell them I am from the Indian Army, and I'm very proud about it. So even now with my height, a lot of people do ridicule me, or they'll just say, oh, so you're short. And now I've learned the phrase which I always use: I'm not short, I'm as much under the ground as I'm above it. So I'm much taller than you. So, by God's grace, it's been almost 34 years I have been in the industry of grooming people, from corporate to fashion schools to films, televisions, pageantry. I think I have clientele all over. So, it's been a great transition for me. And as I said, I realized at the right time that my transferable skill was OLQ, and this is what I need to teach the civilian world. But it's a tough journey, let me tell you, because we are so disciplined. If somebody says be there at 7, we are at 7, and many times I'll land up there and have to switch on the lights myself because even the host is not there. And I'm sure most of my army friends would have realized that, in a car, the civilian ride Bharat at 7 p.m. and you land up at 7, no one is there. Bharat is arriving at 1:30 at night, you know. So there are these little skills which I think what army taught us are still lacking in the civil world, and we need plenty of people like all of us to step in and help the civil world to be more civil. Yeah.
Sure, thank you for that. And one thing that strikes me is you actually did not go and work for somebody else. You charted your own path. You became an entrepreneur, you know. So maybe there is a lesson for transitioning officers out there that jobs is not just the only way. There are so many other things that people can do, you know. There's a whole startup ecosystem now. Many people can explore their creative side. What is your message for the people who are only stuck on maybe finding jobs? What can you suggest to them?
Yeah, I would just say that one thing. It's not that I didn't try for a job. I did. When I was just learning all these skills, I had time. So I did try for a job, and the only thing is that, you know, out there I used to stand apart compared to the other women there. I used to stand apart. I used to keep hearing why she walks so stiffly, why she using fork and knife. So I wasn't feeling comfortable because that wasn't me. And then I realized that I don't think I can fit in out here. And the only thing I decided was to start on my own. So many a times, if you feel that you don't belong there, you're uncomfortable, you don't find your comfort zone, there is always a way out. Only thing you have to first identify your strengths, uh, and that takes a lot of time because you have to identify your strengths, your weaknesses, and what is it that will make you that will actually make you put in your 100% with a lot of passion. Because unless you don't have passion in what you're doing, you will never be able to excel. So sit down one day and first see what are the things you are looking at, what are the avenues you want to get into. Just make a list and then see what are the qualities required to get into that, and then match your strengths and weaknesses to it and see what exactly where exactly you fit in. Because this is exactly what I did, and I realized that this part was lacking. There was a big gap about etiquette and how to carry yourself in the civil world, and how we were taught in the army to respect our uniform, and do's and don'ts about everything in life, the etiquette. And I realized there was a big gap, and I can fill it up because I have those skills which were taught in the army. And I realized that I'm good with people skills because this is what I was taught as a nursing officer. We are people's people. We have to talk, and we have to understand people closely. We have to be good listeners, because when patients would share something without interrupting them, because sometimes only listening itself was helping people. So we were taught all those skills, and I realized these were my strengths, and I am a people's person. So either I become a tutor, or I become any kind of a people's person. And then I also realized that my dream was to get into glamour world, and then I combined these two. And by God's grace, I'm so very happy that from a mini road roller, now I'm nicknamed as a queen maker. So I feel very, very proud. And it's all because I actually focused on exactly what I wanted. And it takes time. I'm telling you, it takes time. You will fail a couple of times. You will be very disheartened for some time, when you fail failures, or whether you will not find something you're comfortable in, or maybe people will not accept you as one of them. Sometimes women, army women, are actually, people find them very intimidating with their attitude or with their assertiveness. So sometimes you will face, and I remember when I tried in the other places other than when I started on my own, people even called me names because of my leadership style. So it was tough. I did fall a couple of times, but I didn't give up. So keep pursuing what you want, and then eventually you'll actually hit exactly where you want to be. It takes time. So as I said, the most important thing is patience and networking. Anybody and everybody you meet is going to help you somewhere or the other. So just keep networking with the right people, and you will have your support system once you come out, and they will actually guide you. And find one mentor who's already done it, and take that person's advice as you move. Yeah.
Thank you very much for that. A quick reminder once again, dear attendees, we are very close, like 1 minute away from taking those live question and answers. So if you have any comments, any questions, please put them down in the comments box of this LinkedIn live. Veteran Spotlight with me, your host Preeti Chaudhary here, and my guest today, Lieutenant Rita Gangwani. Let me quickly read up a little bit more about her in terms of her introduction because I will be asking her a couple of final questions and then it is over to everybody attending for their questions. So, Rita educates and inspires with a perfect blend of wisdom, razor sharp insight, and humor. A multi gifted motivational speaker, a TEDx speaker, Josh speaker, author, pageant coach, etiquette consultant, actress, author, healer, and entrepreneur, and above all, a coach who understands exactly what is holding you back from true success and how you can overcome these inner blocks. So, with that, multifaceted personality, so much going on, you've charted your own path and ways, seen so much in life, ups and downs, left and right and center, all of that. What are some of your achievements that you are proud of? If you'd like to share with us, I would like to definitely know, please. All yours.
Certainly. I'm very, very proud to be sharing my achievements. The most important and most excited I am is about it's been 36 years I left the army, but last year, military nursing officers came up with this book. It's a coffee table book. It's shining a lot, so I don't know how to I show it. Uh, there,
Yeah,
there. So
I see it.
this is
Thank you.
yeah. So I was very happy and very touched when I saw that they have covered me in the book as a civilian starlet. So after so many years, also I'm very happy that army has not left my hand. And time and again, I do go to these messes and I do train military nursing officers in soft skills, and sometimes people from other units also call me to train them and maybe groom the housewives and stuff. So that is the latest one. But the most important is that I was awarded by the President of India twice in a row for training the youth of India about their motivating the youth of India to be good citizens of India. And my biggest achievement at the moment is the World Book of Records. So I have been honored by World Book of Records for my contribution in the field of personality development and women empowerment. So these are some of my achievements. And yes, time and again, I'm covered in various magazines. So I'm on the cover of various magazines. So I'm quite thrilled, And I have written a book, and this book is all about pageantry. And this book has been the forward is by Sushmita Sen, our Miss Universe. So it's a wholesome book about grooming, and when it was getting released, the gentleman who released it also said that this can be used by anyone. It's an encyclopedia of grooming. So these are some of it. And yes, I have also been honored as the icon of India. I have received Rajiv Gandhi Lifetime Achievement Award, plenty more. But these are some of them which I'm very, very proud about. And
Congratulations and yeah,
thank
no,
you.
go ahead. Please go ahead.
And the best is that I'm still connected to the army through their book, and I'm still serving them in my own humble way. As they say, you can remove a person from the army, but you cannot remove army from a person. So that fits very well in me. And yes, of course, whatever I'm today, I think it's all because of the army. That girl who couldn't even speak well, and the girl who was ridiculed as mini road roller and a Bonnie, has really army took me in its arms and has groomed me to be what I am today. So I would encourage all the women out there, whichever form you want to join the Indian Army, please do, because I think this is one thing you will be so very proud of one fine day. Though my training in those days were very, very different, very antique kinds, but now you have all the facilities. We used to even remove blood. It was our duty to take the blood of the patient. So but it helped me to be who I am. And the arms training which the others now have, we had days training which was called INOC. It was initial nursing officers course, and we used to go to Lucknow, where we were taught about all the different brigades and battalions, and we were even taught, given basic arms training. So it's not this that we were not trained in them, we were, but our focus was more being human beings, because we were dealing with lives in our hand. And as I said, that it's an art which comes from the heart. If you have that soft heart, you want to serve, I think army is the best place to be.
Very encouraging words. Thank you so much for that, and congratulations and heartiest felicitations, for all those achievements and awards. Time now to read some comments that have come in, and hopefully there will be a few questions as well. So here we are. Vani Pava says kudos. Thank you, Vani, for that.
Thank you.
Um, Vivek Kalia says absolutely brilliant session, Preeti and Rita. Thank you, Vivek, for that. Vivek also says, great listening to your life stories and experiences. Thank you again, Vivek.
Thank you.
Then there is Dr. Smita who says, thanks, Rita ji, for sharing all those memories. Thank you. And then we have Arohi Saha, brilliant as always. Thanks a lot, Preeti ma'am and Rita ma'am. Thank you, Arohi. And then I think here is a question. Please share my hello with her. We know each other very well. Wherever she used to feel low due to challenges, what she used to do to boost up herself. So that's a question for you, Rita. What would you do to boost yourself up when you were facing challenges? This is from Dr. Sunita Sindhwani Tang. Over to you.
Okay. Yeah, whenever I was facing challenges, the first thing I realized was that it is my journey. No one is going to hold my hand and take me out of this problem. I'm the only person responsible for my life. And if I don't take charge of my life, if I'm sitting in the back seat, somebody else will drive my car. So I might as well face it. And as nurses, we are, we do ECG, we see up and down, up and down. Similarly, life goes up and down, up and down. If it goes down, it certainly will come up. So anytime I used to feel low, and even now, there are two mantras I live by. One is this too shall pass. I have done my 100% and I surrender. This too shall pass. When the time will come, it will happen. And second thing which I boost myself with, the mantra is, I will cross the bridge when I get to it. So I never think kya hoga, kya hoga, kya hoga. I always say I'll cross the bridge when I get to it. No one knows what holds the next moment holds. Yes, be prepared, but don't worry so much ki kya hoga, because when you reach that state, you'll realize कि bridge ही नहीं था. So you don't even have to cross the bridge. So this is how I motivate myself. These are my two mantras. This too shall pass, I think, is the most important mantra of life, because life works in duality. रात के बाद दिन जरूर होता है. So if I'm facing a bad time and it's going bad, I know it's the dawn is about to come, and it does come. Things always change. Change is the most important truth of life. It will change. So hold on to your horses. Have patience. Things will change.
Thank you very much for that. And here's Kriti Pandey saying, congrats, Rita ma'am. Thank you very much for that, Kriti. And with that, all the comments are over. Rita, a couple of bits of advice for the young people out there, especially for the young women who are into their early 20s, late teens, early 20s. This whole thing of insecurity, this whole doubt, this self doubt, and how can they sort of get out of it and make a world and make a mark for themselves? Because more often than not, they're all qualified, they have everything going for them. It is just themselves, they keep holding themselves back. What is your advice for those young women especially, and then the youth in general, please?
Right.
Over to you.
Yeah, the biggest problem with youth today is peer pressure. We are the culture of cut, copy, paste. So we are always looking around, comparing ourselves to somebody else. Oh, she's done this, I should do this. She's done this, I should do that. First and foremost, stop comparing yourself, because we are all unique in our own way. What is her strength cannot be mine. What is my strength cannot be yours. So first and foremost, stop comparing yourself. Believe in whatever you have is best for you. Focus on what good you have and how you can use it to move ahead in life. First thing is that. Second, most important thing is that kids nowadays are very instant coffee type of kid. Instant coffee, instant Maggie, Instagram. So no instant works in life. Why life works on baby steps. So just take your baby steps towards your goal. You cannot find success in just one jump. And even if you find it, you will not be able to maintain it. It's easy to find success, but it's very difficult to maintain it. So if you really want to reach that success thing, you have to take baby steps, one step at a time. So stay focused. Most important, have a goal. What do you want in life? You know, like going to a train counter and saying, I want a train ticket. The guy will say, where do you want to go? And you will say, anywhere. You know, so you'll be lost. So you need to know exactly where you want to go. What is your strength? What do you want? Have an ambition, have a goal, and and just focus on that. Keep moving in that direction. This is what I meant. And most important, remember, I'm just talking general point of view, that you will take one step ahead, there'll be 10 people standing to pull you back in this life. This is how the world goes. कुछ तो लोग कहेंगे, लोगों का काम है कहना. If you do good, they will talk. If you do bad, they will still talk. So what I would suggest is, I'll tell you with a story, that a frog, there was a race happening, frogs ka race ho raha tha, and there was a big pole they had to go up, and it was a very slippery pole. So these frogs used to go up and slip down, slip down, slip down, and they thought कि कोई ऊपर नहीं पहुंच सकता है. But there was one frog who was slowly, slowly going up, and all these frogs who had given up were standing down there and saying, "Abhi girega, abhi girega, abhi girega." But that frog managed to reach the top. So when he came down, everybody went to ask him what was his strategy, how did he make it? But he didn't answer. So another frog said, "Oh, he will not answer. He's deaf." So moral of the story is that when people were saying "Ye abhi girega, abhi girega," he was thinking that people are encouraging him. You know. So my advice to everyone is, become deaf. Become deaf. Just become deaf. Avoid psychological suicide bombers. That's what I call them. And you will find plenty of them in your life. Plant yourself in good soil, people who encourage you. Just completely become deaf to what people will tell you. And only then, people were throwing stones at me, to SEA, to SEA, to SEA. Instead of just succumbing under those stones, I built the bridge on it and I came to the other side. So tell them, give me more. And if people are throwing stones at you, remember why they are throwing stones at you, because you have something which they don't have. That's an indirect compliment. People are jealous of you. So that is your strength. Work on it, but don't get under peer pressure, and don't think you're lesser than anyone else, because God has brought you to this earth with a reason. He's made you unique for a reason. Just sit and wonder, how exactly can I make a difference to my life and to the life of others? And that will give you clarity.
Thank you so much for those very encouraging words. Couple more comments have come in. I would read them here. So Dr. Sunita says, "Thanks, ma'am. Always inspiring." Shaminder Singh Jamwal says, "Commendable, ma'am." Captain Sangamitra Boredi says, "Very inspiring. Thanks, ma'am." So with that, we are at the end of this show. I know you have a treat lined up for our attendees. So
Yeah.
let's hear what you have to say to us. And with that, we will say our byes finally. So it's over to you for one last thing that you want to do today.
Okay, one last thing besides encouraging everyone and saying that please go out and serve. Nursing is a wonderful profession. If you can join it, please do. It'll make you a wonderful human being. And towards the end, I would just like to end with singing few lines. I love to sing, that's my hobby. And since I am speaking to the army veterans, so might as well sing something about patriotic. So just two lines before I end. हर कर्म अपना करेंगे, ए वतन तेरे लिए दिल दिया है, जान भी देंगे, ए वतन तेरे लिए हर कर्म अपना करेंगे, ए वतन तेरे लिए. So it's important that being a good citizen of India, and nothing better than being an army veteran or an army officer. The best way to serve your nation.
Thank you so much. That was so inspiring. So it's time for us to say adieu, tata, bye bye to all of the attendees. Dear attendees, thank you for spending your Monday evening with us, listening, imbibing, learning. I am sure lots of stories and lessons there. Please reach out to Lieutenant Rita Gangwani. She's there on LinkedIn. She's available on her profile. You will find her onto my posts. Thank you, Rita, for coming and talking to us today.
Thank you for
Absolutely.
having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Inspiring story.
Thank
Thank
you.
you to Echo Events, our streaming partner. And this is me, Preeti Chaudhary, your host of Veteran Spotlight, signing off this Monday evening. Until next time, take good care. Bye. Jai Hind.
Bye.